Europe wasn't the only continent to believe in dragons. China is another dinosaur fossil hotspot. Hundreds of years ago, giant bones helped inspire the idea of huge, scaly creatures here too.
What's amazing is that China's discovery of dinosaur bones might have inspired their dragon myths completely independently of Europe.
Chinese dragons were very different from their European counterparts. Why? Gabrielle Flexer thinks she can find a clue on a precious artifact uncovered at a dig in China.
This is a Chinese vessel, and we're going to X-ray it in order to find out if there's any cracks or weaknesses in the surface and the structure.
At her lab, Gabrielle begins restoration work on the 3,000-year-old artifact.
The Chinese vessel appears to have dragon decorations, particularly around the handles. So by conserving it today, we're hoping to get a much better understanding of what the dragons actually look like.
As Gabrielle removes the impurities, she identifies a very distinct beast.
Now I've cleaned up the outside, the details, we can clearly see that the Emperor's vessel was definitely decorated with dragon handles.
Unlike the fearsome and aggressive European dragons, Chinese dragons are benevolent magical spirits. Long and snake-like, they can fly without wings, and they can change color to fit their surroundings. In China, dragons are part of the spirit world and very rarely reveal themselves to people. They also have control over the forces of nature.
Chinese dragons would not have been breathing fire or terrorizing towns. Instead, they were much more associated with water, rain, and bringing the rice crops that were so needed.
An ancient inscription reveals more clues about the kind of relationship Chinese people once had with this benevolent beast.
It translates as, Tai Shi Xiao Shi, may this honored Gui vessel be used in prayer for a vigorous old age. May Shi's sons and grandsons forever value and employ it for a myriad years. The relatives of the family are continuing to use the vessel into the future to honor their ancestors and their dead relatives.
The inscription reveals that while Europeans lived in fear of dragons, the Chinese invited them into their most sacred ceremonies. In the Museum of East Asian Art, Dr. Nicole Chang searches for the reasons why. She finds an artifact almost 300 years old, once owned by Emperor Yongzheng of China.
This bowl is decorated with 9 red dragons, and you can see the dragon's head right here. The quality of the clay is quite fine. The painting, the decoration on the bowl is also very nicely done.
Nicole identifies writing on the bowl's reverse that shows its very important owner.
You can see the emperor's ring mark right here. It's a Chinese imperial porcelain bowl coming from the court of the Yongzheng Emperor.
Nicole reveals that the creatures Europeans thought of as vicious and evil, the Chinese revered as noble and protective.
Dragons symbolize power and authority. They have control over the weather, the ocean, rainfalls, and so they're very powerful, mythical creatures.
Not only did the Chinese look up to dragons, the emperor himself even had his own special type. Nicole identifies clues.
So these 9 dragons have 5 claws. That's a symbol of imperial power and the symbol of emperors at the time in 18th century. The dragons, they appear among waves, ocean waves and clouds. And that's because dragons are often associated with water.
Nicole thinks the water and clouds refer to China's ancient account of how the world was formed and the role dragons played in it. The Yellow River once burst its banks, turning the land into a sea, forcing people from their homes and up into the mountains. Determined to tame the water and protect his people, the demigod Yu comes to the rescue with a great benevolent dragon. Together, they dig deep canals to drain the water and build strong dams to tame the mighty rivers. Now people can return to their homes and be safe from the floods. Yu becomes emperor of China, and the dragon a symbol of protection.
The dragon was strongly associated with the birth of Chinese culture. The dragon was there at the beginning of time, and the emperors of China often styled themselves as descendants of the dragon.
In China, lives were enriched by protective dragons. But in Europe, people were still living in fear. Someone had to come to the rescue. It was time for the Dragon Slayer to take up arms. But who were the people who could kill such monsters? In the Alps, Dr. Marta Cobb hunts for answers. She tracks down the most famous dragon slayer of all.
And there it is. It's the statue of St. George.
This monument was erected 500 years ago. It honors the man who could finally free Europe from merciless dragons.
With so many dragons about, it's not surprising that people wanted the protection of a dragon slayer, like St. George. But he originated a long way from here.
In one account, St. George is in North Africa. Here, a venomous water dragon threatens to poison a town. The citizens offer a princess as a human sacrifice. But a passing soldier comes to the rescue. He not only wounds, but tames the dragon, so the princess can lead him home like a pet. The soldier vows to kill the captive beast if the citizens convert to Christianity. The dragon's fate is sealed, and the soldier becomes St. George.